Hi, friends. It is Wednesday, and you are with me here. My name is Psychic Courtney Kane Sides, Psychic Medium. And on Wednesdays, we connect here on the beautiful Forbidden Knowledge Network, connecting to our guides and angels and seeing what comes through. This evening, we're talking about my favorite thing, intuition, power, stepping into that, realizing, first of all, that we have it, and knowing that we can all tap into this gift and ability. So often we are taught that it's something that, outside of ourselves, or that we must seek somebody else to acquire that information or knowledge, when actually it's kind of sitting right here with us. And so, guys, thank you for joining me. I'm so, again, happy that you're here. Lots of really cool comments coming in. If you know somebody tonight, let's start off with, if you know somebody, understanding that this is a really beautiful way of connecting to your loved ones, connecting to your friends. Here, of course, too, that say that they are seeing signs or seeing those numbers, the 222, the 1111 popping in. This is a great thing. If you know those friends, this could really do them some good to hear and see that there's more people like them. Do me a favor, forward this podcast to them right now, subscribe, share it, and that would just mean the world to me. Guys, let's go ahead and take a good deep breath in together. Let's call on the guides and angels, and let's chat about a few things that are going on, and then let's jump into this intuition and the power. And of course, take some awesome questions in just a few. So everybody take that good deep breath in. Big exhale out. Okay, so guides and angels on our right, guides and angels on our left, guides and angels in front, guides and angels in back, to balance and harmonize our session or our time here, leaving us in the light and allowing nothing but the highest, the truest, or the best to manifest upon us now. This protective, beautiful connection is a way that I know that I'm connected to the light. And so those of you wanting to connect to beautiful, higher energy, guys, right there, that's a really great example. I'm getting chills as I even say, but that's a really beautiful example of knowing that when you find that prayer of connection, we all have that ability to tap into something like that, to tap into the knowing that we actually have the ability to connect and call on that energy to help us heighten that internal knowing. Guys, again, thank you so much. Really cool questions popping in and some information. So we are going to get to those. So this evening, guys, that knowing, who here knows and believes that since childhood, you have had a little bit of a something, okay? A little bit of an awareness and knowing, let's call it a premonition, an inner gut, an inner intuitive ability, knowing that that calling has been there for you, or knowing that that connection has been something that you could tap into here and there. Also, if that's not you, if that doesn't sound like you, say you've been living a regular life. Mrs. Webb says, yes, since I was 6 years old. Yes, very often that's around the time that we start to understand that it's there. What is really cool, hi LaSoul, my friend, sending you so much love your way, my friend. This also includes those of you who say, no, I have never felt really anything. I shut it down so long ago. And also am just now starting to feel like there's something there and wondering what in the world it is. Claudia says, yes, my whole life, just don't know how to use my gifts. So I am a huge believer that we all have a variety of gifts. Now you will hear many mediums, many people say, well, I'm clairsentient, I'm clairaudient, I'm, all of the different descriptions of intuitiveness. I want us all to almost remove all labels and just know that you're simply connected to the light. Call it source, call it faith, call it love. It is, to me, all it's connection, and it's connection to our highest knowing and awareness. And we all do have the gift to tap into it and that ability to do so. Again, we've just not been taught how to do that. And so, to me, the deepest way of starting to set that stage of connection is to simply step into the energy of your own space, okay? So collectively creating a moment and a space where you can create quiet time, mindfulness, and start to set your intention. To me, when I take that breath in, I'm always setting my intention to connect to nothing but the highest, the truest, or the best around me. Okay. So setting that intention in the morning, setting that intention to connect to your highest good, your highest of energies, and knowing and watching, guys, it's really healthy during this expansive time that you're moving through. If you're feeling as though you're going through an awakening, to receive, but yet be an observer and a spectator of what you're feeling and observing. So almost being in the moment, but yet having that third party perspective of what you're noticing. Like, okay, I notice that I'm feeling this or that. I notice that I'm feeling a certain presence around me. Just notating those things down at first can start you on the path of taking that next step into the next direction, okay? The next direction of connecting to those guides and angels. So when you are in that space, again, setting the intention in the morning, watching those signs, those symbols start to arise. And I tell you guys, even the way that I receive information throughout my day is very often the way I felt and received information in the early stages of my confirmed awakening. I believe that we can go through many different stages of that awakening. And sometimes that means that those interactions can sometimes be something that startles us. Again, if you've listened to these beautiful podcasts, you've heard me say setting those parameters, setting those boundaries of connecting to the light, connecting to the good is always extremely important. And watching that different level of connection is extremely important. We want to know that we're connecting to really, really beautiful energy. We want to know that we're connecting to that highest of good so that when we receive information, we know that it's of the light. And so to work on our own, you've heard me say this again, you're going to hear it all the time when we're talking about intuition, us walking the walk, us practicing what we preach, us healing our own stuff is really the fourth groundwork that we must do. Hi guys. Hi Solange. I see you, my friend. And us understanding that that work goes hand in hand to this awareness of the gift. And so very often in that early connection, you're going to find that you're feeling as though you're having dreams and you're maybe confused by those dreams. So writing these aha moments down or you'll still see paint on my hands from the sessions from today. Isn't that funny? So you writing those things down and feeling them fully, yet putting them down on paper so that you understand that you can come back to it and dissect it later. Having logic in your intuition is a really beautiful thing. So a really, really good person that's tuning into their intuition is going to really feel like this is crazy. This is woo-woo, right? But really owning that wonderment of the woo-woo, if you will, and really owning the logical side of what could this be, almost trying to debunk the energy. I say debunk and I get chills down my arms. You're going to notice how information comes to you. And if you're tracking this information, you're going to see in time that when you're connecting or you feel as though there's still question whether you are or not, right? When you feel like you are connecting, you're going to feel that you receive confirmation often in the same way. So many of you, let me know if you're being woken up in the middle of the night, very often in an early awakening. You will start to feel as though you're being woken up. Very often it's around 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And what happens is early in those stages, you will find that your guides and angels are simply wanting you to wake up because sometimes that veil is more lifted during that time frame. Okay. We're more relaxed. We're more open to connect at times. Top Gun says 2 a.m. Magic Nova says yes. Lots of people saying yes, me. So now this is the thing, guys. You get to decide to connect at that time or not. Mrs. Webb says, yes, I needed this. I'm in a weird, uncomfortable stage. Okay, I see that. So and if you are being awoken in the middle of the night, um, many people they're not too comfortable with that. I was for a little bit until I decided, nope, I don't like that. I don't want to receive in that way. It doesn't mean you're going to cap or stop your abilities. It's simply saying, thank you, guides and angels. However, could you come during the waking hours is what I say, or during a time that feels more suitable for connection for me? You get to decide how this works, okay? You get to decide how you connect. But you watching that and connecting in that way is extremely important, okay? You receiving. Haki Way says, I meditate between 3 a.m. and 3:33 a.m. I love that. There is a moment when you guys are also meditating, and thank you for bringing meditation up. This for me, meditation was the gold for me, guys. That is when I started to really understand that that I could be a participant with the information I was receiving. So let me say that one more time. The meditation helped me learn that I could be a participant with the information that I was receiving. So as a young child, and many of you, I know that you will understand what I'm about to say, I would pick up on energy, walking into rooms, meeting people, those dreams of connection, all of that stuff, but it would find me in a way, okay? So in meditation, years later, and I mean in my late 20s when I found meditation, I started to realize that I was, instead of soaking up the world around me, I was starting to feel what was just simply within me, within that meditation. My mindset, my emotional self, that what was happening within my body. And once I was able to kind of feel that, I could then pick up on that intuitive light within. Guys, this connection really, even with our guides and angels, I believe, now other people can say that yes, they're in other dimensions, they're in other, we could all talk and go in circles why this makes sense and that makes sense. I feel as though we're truly tapping into that highest source of energy within our knowing, okay? Yes, the mind is beautiful, it really is. And the more we know, the more we don't, or the more we know, the more we know nothing. That's the thing too. So you understanding, and Michael, yes, it is extremely important to make sure that you do the work to know what is light and what is dark, and the information about knowing what to connect to versus what not is very important for sure. And so that is why us healing and us doing our own work is really vital to connecting to that highest intuition. And when we do that, we can start to learn more about our own connection within that light and that energy. And when we connect back to that source, our own energy, yeah, shadow work, doing the shadow work, so important. Thank you, my friend. When we are brave enough to do that and show up accordingly, that as deep and hard as those things are sometimes, it is extremely important to understand that as deep and hard as it is that we go, the lighter and more beautiful it is when we arrive to that powerful, intuitive moment of knowing. And by the way, guys, again, it's never ending. It's a constant something. It's a constant tug and pull of beautiful connection and shadow work. Thank you. It is. And it's one of those things that when we do that work, we then gain the confidence, by the way, guys, to know that that inner knowing comes from the work and from you showing up in this life of yours. And so again, you've heard me say this before. It's beautiful. It's wonderful to go have sessions with other people, seek different healing modalities from people who are working in the light, people who are working and discovering really beautiful energy and things into this, connection of ours. But you knowing that you too, you watching this, who you might be sitting there feeling like, well, I feel certain things, but I don't know exactly what it is. Guys, sometimes we don't have to have the verbiage to necessarily know exactly how it's going to play out for us. We can feel if it makes you nervous to connect with it. And I mean, if it doesn't feel quite right, no, thank you. And make sure you come back to that bubble of protection, calling on the guides and angels and asking nothing but the highest, the truest, or the best manifest upon you now. And you being so matter-of-factly secure in that connection that you are, you know, what your energy is. Okay. You know what you're connecting to. So when you come back to that space, you know that it is of the highest good. Okay. It is extremely important. Again, I just touched on this. I want to touch on it again. When you have energies that come to play, I know that when I, in my 20s, was having a great time, partying a lot. Many of you understand what I'm talking about. And I don't regret any of it. It was a great time, and I needed to move through some of those things. But I can tell you that that intuitive notice, it was still there. It was. But there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of uneasiness. A lot of it I was fearful of. And that's also because I wasn't only connected to the light, if you will. Those things that I was partaking in were also opening doors for connections that were not great or positive, and also not conducive to the power in my own light, my own source of energy. Okay. So, guys, if we're connecting to something that doesn't quite feel like the highest good, I really encourage you to make sure that you're watching your mindset, watching your choices, watching energy, and can keep us from transitioning. I'm not so sure what you're saying, my friend. Be clear. Let me see what you're saying. Thank you so much for being here. It is important, though, to make sure that when you are building intuition, that you're also ready to take on the full gamut of that responsibility. Because to me, it is a responsibility to be able to step in that light and be there. Okay. It is one of those things, though, that it is in the simplicity of the gift, where people get very either distracted or they get confused in having the confidence to know for sure that they have the gift and ability. Because this is how it works, guys. Some days you'll receive the sign of the number 222. You'll feel connected with it. And then the next day you'll feel that symbol coming through as an animal or a totem animal. The following week, you might work on, or I say work on, thank you, Dank. You said working on impulse control. I love it. Yes, we all should be doing that, right? Okay. But it's interesting to understand that those signs and symbols do come sometimes very erratically, or let's use the word sporadically. Okay, so that is why we log the information. You've heard me say that we track it, we collect the data. So when you notice these signs, write them down for yourself, and so that you can have confirmation or proof. And it can be in a place where it's outside of yourself. It's in a place where you're not still wondering just in your head, am I making this up? This happen? Da, da, da. You're simply collecting the information so that you can have concrete proof for yourself. Because you're not necessarily, this is what happens too, is when we are intuitive and we have an awareness and a knowing, but then we're wrong about something. Or we choose the wrong partner. Who understands that, by the way? I do. We all do, right? Very often when we are intuitive beings, it is so easier, so much easier to read the energy of somebody else rather than know our own energy more fully. That is why, guys, the healing goes hand in hand. That's why the healing helps us be able to be more so in tune with our own life, so that we can be more in tune intuitively to the world around us. Yet you still have to trust those gut instincts. And when I say you, me too, of, you know, when I'm having a choice, is it this or that? Taking the breath in and feeling that gut instinct of this or that, which way to go. By the way, there's typically not a wrong choice, guys. The choice that you're choosing is just a different pathway to get to where it is that you want. Yes, could one be easier? Sure. But that intuition is going to help guide you. And how in the world do you know that unless you create space to feel your own energy fully? So again, when you make space to do that, that is when and where you will find the power of your own connection, the power of your own light, the power and knowing that you're also connected to source energy, and the power that you know that just as you're connected to this beautiful world around you that you can physically see, that you are also simultaneously connecting to, call it source, God, light, love, whatever you want to call it. You have the power to connect there. It's very, very interesting. This process of receiving information. So if again, let's go back to relationships. Let's talk about intuition and relationships. That could be its own podcast, couldn't it? How many of you who thought that you met the person, you really knew this time that this person was the one, right? To only have certain things come through, right? And I mean, certain energies come through in that relationship that are almost, the same situations from the past, the same relationships almost, but different people. So you're having the same circumstance, the same issues. It's always kind of the same thing, right? That pops up every time. Well, guys, that's happening not because you're choosing the wrong person. I believe you're actually choosing the right person. I believe that your intuition helps you receive it. Yet again, teeters, I see you, my friend, right? That happens. I take a breath with you. Big exhale out. It's happening so that you can watch your patterns, okay? It happens so that you can make beautiful boundaries with yet this new loop that yet you're seeing again. So when you start to learn from that loop and you start to trust your intuition, but also speak up about the energy, you start to speak up about your boundaries, the things that work for you and the things that don't work for you, what you'll notice is things will change. Okay. Cosmo Girl says life lessons to learn, not to repeat. Yes, that's right. Now, some of those situations will repeat. I want to take a breath as I say it because we don't really ever want them to, right? But exhale it out. But what I'm noticing is I want to think of it as more so energetic loops that reappear so we can heal again. And we're not simply healing this one moment when we move through that. I believe that we're healing multiple lifetimes that have also felt that same energy. And so if we're still taking a step in the right direction, if every time it's coming through, we're still noticing that we're making better boundaries than the last time. It's almost like when we raise children and the next generation hopes that the next generation's more financially stable, stronger, smarter, all the things. And you're just wanting, it's almost the same thing with those loops of energy. And so your intuitive knowing will lead you to the people who are the beautiful mirrors for you. And when I say beautiful mirrors, they're not always fun mirrors to move through. Again, that could be another podcast, just talking about the mirrors of connection within each other. That's a whole nother something. And that's a really fun thing to move through too. When I say fun, not always fun, sometimes hard. Cosmo Girl says chills after we connected on that statement. There, it's because there was some truth there for you. Mrs. Webb says, yes, scared to fail, scared to be wrong. Well, listen, I just got chills as I said it. Who here has been wrong? Who here? The more we know, the more we know nothing. We are going to make wrong turns, or let's say we're going to make turns that are a little more difficult than others. Let's say it that way. We are going to choose a path that is a little more rocky than the next. I'll never forget. Who remembers? Sylvia Brown, psychic medium Sylvia Brown, years ago. She's passed since, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. I bet she's been gone. But I saw her many, many years ago in Phoenix, Arizona. And I remember her, she, went through and did some sessions for a few people, which was great. And she sat on that stage and she was smoking, and somebody asked her about relationships. And she, I see everybody remembers her. Yeah, she was great. And quite a character. But she was talking about, I'm getting chills as I say that. Let's just say that she's here with us tonight. But she was talking about relationships and how she said, look at what I do. And she said, I'm very well known for it. There's been lots of books, and she was on lots of TV shows and whatever. And some said she was fake. Some said she wasn't. I remember her to be very good that evening. Now, when she was asked about romance and relationships, she laughed and she said, well, I'm really great at telling you about yours. But when it comes to me and my choices of men, she said, I've been married, and I want to say 5. I don't remember exactly how many times she'd been married, but she laughed and she said that there was her intuition about her own relationships was something that always threw her off. Okay. It is something that for her, that was the one thing in her life that she felt as though she couldn't quite see it, right? Guys, we all have it. So when you have that intuitive knowing in life, and yet you choose something and it doesn't quite fall into place in the way that you hoped it would be, or the way that you wanted it to be, it doesn't mean that it has to throw you off course of you owning your intuition or you owning your gifts and abilities. It just, let's take it as an experience. You're literally here on earth to try things, to have risks, to fail, to learn, to love, all the things. And so let's work on us stepping into that intuitive knowing, into that power, owning that we can, in fact, own those gifts and abilities, and still sometimes, be a human being. Have moments where we're simply just trying to do the best that we can, but still stepping into that power and knowing that we are also guided in this beautiful life of ours. Mrs. Webb says, large decisions coming my way. Sigh, perfect message in perfect timing. So typically, when I am hit with an intuitive nod of sorts, okay, I will sit on the energy. I will notice. And when I notice something, you've heard me a million times taking that good 4 count breath in on the pause. I'm saying, thank you, thank you, thank you for the awareness that is mine. Big exhale out. And I will watch it. I'll have awareness with it without holding on to the information. So in a way, I track it. And what I mean by that is I notate it down, right? Take a breath in, notice. It's like I put a pin in it, like, oh, okay, I see it. We'll see. Once you see it, you express the awareness of the intuition, whatever that may be. By the way, that could be love, could be career, could be all kinds of different things. So when you notice the intuition or the feeling about the something, make note of it. Breathe in life force. Thank you. Thank you. Show gratitude, especially if it's something that you're really wanting to connect to and put into this space of yours, you're wanting to accomplish or you're wanting to receive, right? Take a breath in. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the awareness that is mine, and asking nothing but the highest, truest, or the best to manifest upon me now, or us now, if that's you and your family. When you send out that beautiful energy, that's also like manifestation, guys. You can hand in hand be working on your intuition. You can hand in hand be working on your psychic development. your gifts and abilities and working on manifesting the most beautiful life, healing, strength, relationships, everything that you could ever imagine. When I say that, guys, that is not to be mistaken for the most perfect life and everything. It means that whatever comes to play are the things that you're going to be meaning to go through. There's nobody in this life that is resistant of real life happening to them. Okay? It doesn't happen. We're all here having this beautiful human experience, and we can either be here and develop in those beautiful gifts and abilities, have confirmation with our understandings and our knowings, feel it fully, set the intention for those beautiful outcomes, yet with that exhale, releasing the attachment to how it shows up for us, and watch how it pops into place. Now more than ever, guys, energy can shift like that. It shifts so quickly. And so just as we can set the energy for something, when I ask or I set that intention, or even when I notice that I have a feeling something will come into play, or I feel like, okay, something around this is going to happen. For me, sometimes it's like, okay, I feel like I can walk into a restaurant, and very often I can walk in and be like, that's so weird. I feel like I'm going to see a client today. It's so funny. I can just walk in, I can feel it sometimes. And sure enough, somebody will start, and I run into somebody, and it's so hilarious. But sometimes it's not knowing exactly how it's going to happen, but knowing there's something around this energy. So that is almost like, I don't know how it's going to happen. The release of it, taking a breath in, letting it go, and then just waiting to see how it falls into place is extremely important. That flexibility with your gifts and your energy is what takes your own ownership and your own power to the next level. It doesn't have to be that hard, guys. It doesn't. And there's a lot of teachers out there that want you to think that you discovering your gifts, you tapping into those gifts and abilities is a really difficult thing, but sometimes it's something that, oh my God, I think our mother should have just been teaching us. Now, it doesn't mean that there's always massive information that comes in always. It doesn't mean that there's going to be some sort of massive spiritual force that comes upon you and says, you are now gifted with these gifts and abilities. Sometimes it's years of the subtlety of the knowing. Sometimes it's years of knowing just that we're so connected that you can just feel it. And there's faith and knowing because you've seen beautiful prayers and beautiful miracles happen throughout your life. And there's awareness that there's something to it all. Miss Webb says this makes so much sense. I'm so happy that you're connecting to the information, guys. Thank you. It's interesting to feel the energy. It's interesting to sense it. It's interesting to connect and know the way in which you'd like to receive information. Other teachers may not agree with what I'm about to say. My old business partner used to channel, and when she channeled, and she was amazing at her work and her gift, she doesn't do it any longer, but she would receive information and she would almost nod her head. For me, I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. So I remember waking up when I was having that sense of, waking up in the middle of the night and that feeling, that knowing that I needed to get up and write, or I needed to get up and meditate, which I did for a very long time. I could feel as though automatic writing was something that I could very quickly and easily do. And can be an odd thing if you've not ever done that before. You also understanding when you do something like that, calling on those guides and angels, protecting your own energy, and knowing that you're completely covered in that light is, again, always important. But once it went into that area of allowing your energy to be to channel the spirit, I was like, nah, that I don't want to do that. So I believe that we can make provisions with somewhat of the way that we want to receive. Now, you hear me say all the time, I paint Tuesday through Friday for sure. With every client, this is a painting that I just did just before tonight's podcast with a certain client out of Atlanta. But with every private session, they get a painting, which is really cool. And so it's interesting. We can allow that channeling of energy to come through. Again, when I'm in session, I feel so much that I feel in color. So it helps me feel the energy and pull it through, if that makes sense, rather than take it inside of me, if that makes sense. That just feels a little bit like, yeah, thank you, but no thank you. I need a little bit more groundedness in my way. And that doesn't mean that other people who channel in that way are not grounded. It just means that that's not in the way that I wanted to do it. So I do believe that we can enhance in our own intuitive ways, in the way that we would like it to go, if that makes sense. Now, that's not to be misconstrued with feeling as though we can control it necessarily, but we can set parameters in the way that we can set parameters. If you've been watching these videos, you've heard me say that I started to receive that, and I'll share this again, the symbol of that head. It's almost dry, by the way, but that swoop of the head, right, that you hear, well, there's 3 of them here, but the swoop of that head is how I started to feel others' energy or sense it or receive it. And so that was something that, now that was not negotiable, if that makes sense. That was something that I knew needed to come through in that way. And so when you open to connect, and that image came to me through meditation, you understanding and stepping into the receiving of that energy is always also going to help you in tapping into the way that you receive, not in the way that Courtney tells you that you receive, or in the way that some other healer or teacher tells you you receive. I would come back to, what does it mean for me? What is this showing me? So when you're receiving information, when you're meditating and you're feeling as though you're getting some sort of information or whatever, I always had a piece of paper and a pencil handy when I was meditating. And even throughout the meditation, if there was some sort of imprinted image or something that came through, I'd open my eyes and I'd start jotting down the information and go right back into it and just sit there and hold space. And just, if there was something else that came through, I'd do the same thing, write it down. And so you understanding that this is your way of connecting, this is what your way of stepping into the power. And it also does not have to look like anybody else's but yours. Again, very often we're intimidated by stepping in and sharing our voice. We're intimidated or nervous about showing other people those kind of inner workings of ourselves. We're nervous about that. I remember feeling like I was coming out of the closet with those gifts, almost being found out, and it was scary. It's very scary. And that was not in today's day where it's much more open and openly discussed or whatever. This was, I've been doing this work 18 years now, which is crazy. And so it was back when it wasn't so mainstream. Guys, this is what your gift is. And what I mean by that is, this is, I believe, what we're supposed to be stepping in as that collective consciousness of people here on earth right now. I do believe, excuse me, there's a hair on me somewhere. I do believe that our purpose, I see people all day long, guys, coming to me saying, should I do this? Should I do that? Is it this career or is it that career? It's not a career, guys. It's the light that you're searching for. We've just been taught that it is external and not from within. We've been taught that it's a path, or it's a relationship, or it's a love, or it's a something like that. Excuse me, guys, there is a hair on me and it's driving me crazy, so forgive me. It is real live video, excuse me. And so I want you to understand that if you're searching for some sort of physical something outside of yourself, relationship, love, whatever, it's always going to, something's not going to ever quite feel right. And it doesn't mean that you have to do this work for a living. That's not what I'm talking about. But you finding that light within to find and allow yourself to feel your full energy is why you're here on earth. That's your purpose. And whether you are kind-hearted and you just share it with the people around you, that could be the gift. Or you could put it into, I had a beautiful actually session with this person who is a musical artist. And many of you would know this person. But the gift, their gift, is putting that energy into that beautiful grid of connection in the music, putting that there so that their energy and their light is emanated from them in their form. Now, guys, it could literally be by you just being kind to your neighbor. I got a message from my welcome to puppy life. Ha ha ha. It's fantastic. Yes. Thank you, Sarah. It is. We have a brand new golden retriever. She's like 4 months old. And oh my goodness, my hair is always everywhere. And now it's mine and her hair. So it's crazy. Anyway, so yes, thank you. But I got an email this morning from my daughter's teacher. She's in the 2nd grade. And the teacher sent me a message and she said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, your daughter came up to me and asked me if her daughter had surgery last week. And she said, she came up to me and asked me if she was okay and how she was doing and if she was getting better. And she said, when she asked me, she said, this was over a week ago. And she said, I was just shocked that she, first of all, even thought about it, remembered it, and even cared to come and ask. And she said, when she asked me, it kind of stopped me in my track. And she said, I teared up. And she said, and last night as I was going to bed, she said, I thought about it. And she said, I almost cried. And she said, I just want you to know that you're raising a really kind, loving little girl. And she is super, super sweet. And I got that message and I was like, well, that's what it's all about right there. Guys, us returning back to that kind, caring, empathic light. And what many of us adults are doing right now is that young heart, she is so connected to that intuitive self. She's just like me. She's got all my gifts and abilities. It is, I would almost say that even much more than mine. But the soft-heartedness is where that light is. And guys, that's what we're trying to get back to within this intuition and this power, is we're removing the hardships of life. We are removing and healing the coarseness that comes upon all of us, by the way, with trauma and tragedy and loss and pain and gain and fall and all the things, life, right? And so coming into that, also that soft-heartedness that knows that we are here for a reason. And some of that is just to share our light with the world around us. Again, to the neighbor, to the grocery person, to the person getting gas right next to you. That's our job. It's not about us walking up to them and saying, let me tell you about your grandmother, blah, 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 blah. You sharing your light, you're sharing your intuition, you sharing your knowing and your heart with the world around you. Guys, that's you stepping into your intuition, your heart, and your everything. Yeah, Jennifer says, taking a breath. Agreed. My friend Kaden is also soft-hearted. I love that. Let's see here. 1 second. Okay. I'm going to start answering some questions, guys. Thank you for being here as I've rattled and rattled on. I hope that you guys feel connected. If you're feeling as though you have a friend that could use this podcast, do me a favor, make sure you're subscribing or you're following so that you get notifications when we go live. I'm here almost every Friday, or I'm sorry, not Friday, Wednesday. I'm like, what day is it? Every Wednesday we connect to our guides and angels here on this beautiful podcast on the Forbidden Knowledge Network. And we connect to the information that comes through. Guys, the cool part to me is this, is we connect, and that's exactly how I work, is there's not a lot of there's definitely not a lot of planned information. We connect and we see. So the topics we talk about, the connections we go into, the questions that get answered are all inspired intuitive connections. And so they're all, to me, of that highest good. That's what we ask to come through. And that's what I trust does come through. And so guys, in your intuitive noticing, or your intuitive knowing. Notice the subtle, beautiful, sweet little simple signs. Guys, that's the magic. I am telling you. It is not always the being knocked off your socks with the guide coming in showing you the headdress and all the things. Sure, that can happen, but more so than not, it's very subtle and you're receiving. But what happens is, because you see so many people who are already stepping in and knowing theirs, or they feel as though they do, you're denying your own connection. And that's what I hope that you guys stop doing tonight, is start collecting a time for yourself, and a moment of mindfulness, a moment of connection, to start connecting to that young, heart-centered light, intuitive knowing self within you, trusting that the experiences you're having, even when they're hard, guys, are the experiences you're supposed to be having. I'm inhaling and exhaling, because that's hard for all of us. And just asking and setting that intention to know that if this is a sign or a lesson for us to move through, we're going to get it, because we're intuitive knowing bodies, connecting intuitively to the world around us, knowing that we're going to move through whatever is showing up for us in our life. But knowing too that we're highly connected. Okay, I'm going to stop rattling on, guys. So let's look through some of the little comments here, some of the sweet, catching life, sending positive vibrations. A.L, thank you for that, my friend. Angel says 3 has been an increase, strengthen the universal energies lately. I love that. Lots of people connecting to the information, so I really, really love that. Let's see here, guys. The comments come by so quickly, so please forgive me if I'm not able to see everybody on here. Let's see here. Keisha says, hi, this is Markeisha. Just wanted to say thank you for reaching out to my dad for me on your last live. That was amazing. Oh, thank you, friend. It's really interesting when that happens. You know, we do connect to loved ones here occasionally through the comments, and it's always really loving when our loved ones come through. That too, guys, is part of our own intuition. We all have that gift and ability. I don't believe that mediumship is just for this person or that person. I believe that your loved one coming to you in that dream, I believe that you feeling their connection with you, that is them. And I think it's great to be a skeptic about it too. You've heard me say that to you. I think it's wonderful to be a skeptic, but I think it's wonderful for you to write those things down and find out how it is that they come to you, okay? Or in time, how you will own that ability, that gift. Let's see. Cosmo Girl says, yes, I can say my empath abilities are more enhanced. I love it. Good, good, good. Teeter says, the more I acknowledge the signs, the more they come and clearer they are. It is, and it's one of those things where the more that you do acknowledge those signs, guys, you'll see them more often, but you'll also have more signs showing up for you as well. And so those are always ever changing. And it's a really, really cool connection to see. Also to see in your line of communication, especially if you're communicating with your loved one on the other side, you're going to notice that you receive those signs right when you need them, or like on a substantial day, substantial time, something like that. There will be a reason behind it. It's very cool. I am a huge believer that science is going to catch up to this work that I'm doing. Science is going to catch up to energy in the sense that they're going to really discover what this is, because I do believe it's measurable. If I didn't know that, I'd never be doing this work. So yeah. Jessica says, hello there. I'm just now starting your video. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so very much for taking the time to be on this channel and sharing your knowledge. Thank you, my friend. I so appreciate you. That means the world to me. Jay says, it just recently had it heavy on my heart to call a good friend of mine. And it turns out I was the last person to speak to him. He passed away about a half hour later of a pulmonary embolism. Listen, first of all, I'm sending you such love to you, to your friend. Those moments, that is, call it a psychic ability, call it intuition. call it intuitive knowing, whatever. Usually people use the word intuitive because they're afraid to use the word psychic. And I get it. I understand. That's love is what that is. That's connection is what that is. And that's a real something. Many of us have had those moments where we had a feeling or a gut instinct or a moment where, I mean, Facebook is crazy, guys, but when you're like, you thought of a friend and you just went to look and you just found out that they had just passed or something, it happens all the time. That is connection. And I'm so sorry about your friend, my dear. Know that they are with you. But what's so beautiful is on a highest level, on a highest soul level, I want to trust that he was already connecting to you. You're very important to him. And so you know that that's why even your souls were bonded and connected. Okay. Feel him and know that he's with you. First of all, another thing is I love the support that on these beautiful videos, when you all connect to other participants in the comment section, that you guys are always so loving and so supportive. And I know somehow, some way we've all been connected multiple times, especially the way that everybody shows up so lovingly and compassionately. So thank you for being part of this beautiful podcast and part of this network. So thank you. New Dimension says, I know exactly what you mean when you shake your head when you're explaining this. It's just very interesting. Yeah. So interesting. Sarah says, I see images that are like a negative print for film in my mind's eye. Is this a thing, or is it residual light from when my eyes were open? Sarah, great question. I ask myself this all the time, and I do this work all day long, right? I will sometimes shut my eyes, and right now I have a light in my face. And so sometimes when I shut my eyes, I'll do a double check and I'll be like, is this? So I always ask, am I making this up? It's one of my questions that I always ask myself, or is this what I think it is? Ask yourself that question. It's really great. You hear me say it's really great to be a healthy skeptic. That you being brave enough to ask yourself that question is you being brave enough to try to figure out the truth. Okay. I have an example, and I just threw this little story up on TikTok. If you guys are on TikTok, go follow me over there under Cortney Kane Sides Medium. But I had a group session last week or the week before, and one of the women that were there, as soon as I shut my eyes and connecting with her, I saw the image of a skull. Well, first of all, it's Halloween, right? Hello. But I had done had 3 other women's sessions before hers, and connect to her. I call on the guides and angels, shut my eyes, and that image of the skull just went boop, boop. It just kind of imprint and out. That's how it feels. And so I've been doing this for a long time. And even I am like, what? That's so weird and random. But I'm brave enough to say it out loud. So I said, okay, I shut my eyes with you immediately. I don't know if this makes sense, but immediately I'm getting the skull. And so they show me the imprint of the skull head. They show me the arms, like the skeleton, and they show me then the full body skeleton. And she just starts laughing and she says, I literally look at like the skeleton all day long. She said, I work in radiology, which was hilarious. And so that's a lot of fun, especially when you're in a group experience and all of the information, of course, is hitting home with every person. And she kept saying, oh my gosh, I have to go to work and tell all these people, which was just hilarious. So I want you to trust it, Sarah. Write it down, date it, and put ... The ... means says, I don't know exactly what it means, but I know it means something because I'm getting it. The ... means you don't have to say, it means you're in film, and you don't have to attach this full story with it if you're not getting the full story. Simply allow what you're getting to be what it is. And sometimes, guys, just that space of awareness is enough intuitive knowing. And that's like all you need, which is really, really cool. So I love it. Sarah says, yes, thank you. It is really interesting. Steph says, what if your intuition is blocked from making the right choices / decisions in life? Is there an issue with trusting yourself, anxiety from making the best choice for the best outcome, etc.? So, hi, Steph. Thank you for being here. So sometimes I'm going to take a breath as I say this. we can become crippled or paralyzed in that fear of, excuse me while I'm plugging in, we can become paralyzed and in fear of wanting to not make that wrong choice or the wrong turn, right? So I believe that you tuning into that knowing, tuning into that awareness, it takes time. It does take time. And even when you've made what you feel like is the right choice, I don't want you to get caught up in the anxiety of, but what if it should have been this, or which one is the best? Once you make a choice, I want you to own that step, take a breath, and let it go. I believe very often, so when I'm in a session with a client, I describe it in this way. We will see multiple different pathways, and very often you always get right to where you're supposed to. Now, some roads are more treacherous at times than others, but it doesn't mean that they're not worthwhile. It doesn't mean that you weren't to learn that, okay? You just might have needed to take the longer route. And so this is the thing that's really hard, is people do punish themselves for taking a wrong turn in their own eyes. I don't really believe that there's necessarily a massive wrong turn unless you're going down a road that is blatantly something that is like there's red flags all over and you're ignoring them. Okay. I hope that you do the work. And when I say this, I'm not trying to turn this back on you, Steph, but I want you to really step into that space of mindfulness and knowing what ease feels like within your body. And even what uncomfortability, what anxiety feels like within your body, processing. And just when it comes time to make the choice, you, even with your intellectual mindset making the choice, within your energetic body making the choice, trying to feel and weigh it out for what feels correct for you, and then take the step. I feel like you get stuck on and frozen almost on which way to go. And so that to me is almost worse than just making a choice. Sarah says, thanks. I've been just saying thank you for the moment, but I do wonder what it means. Not sure what it means for me just yet. Yeah, it's just simply interesting. Interesting that, I don't know, just interesting. Interesting. I don't want you to freeze. So very often who else freezes sometimes because you're afraid to make that wrong choice. Something that has helped me, some people will use like a pendulum, and then sometimes you can also use your body. It was Regina Meredith, who's also on the Forbidden Knowledge Network. I don't even think she remembers teaching me this, but I worked for a company, a neurofeedback company in Scottsdale, Arizona for years. And I had met Regina there, and she and her husband were there. And she pulled out this pendulum and she showed me how to use it. And she was using it with certain vitamins and things like that. And she said, but you can also do it like this. And at that point, I wasn't aware of like muscle testing and things like that. And she showed me that she said, you can, ask your body about if we should go this way or that way. And she showed that to me. And I teach that in my development class now. So I'm like, thank you, Regina. But it's very cool to get really grounded in your body and ask yourself, what does yes feel like to me? There's a way to do it, guys. But you ask yourself, what does yes feel like to me? And feel it, and then ask yourself, what does no feel like to me? Feel it. And you can ask your body, like, should I make this choice or should I make that choice? By the way, guys, disclaimer here, we're not you are your own person. You get to decide which road to take. So come back to your own knowing, consult your financial advisor, do all the things, your attorneys. But you, Sarah, I do feel like you have a good gut instinct. You've just got to allow yourself to release into the choice. Okay. Jay says, extreme gratitude, Court. I really appreciate that. Your perspectives on these psychic intuitive abilities are changing the world for the better. Oh, thank you, my friend. Thank you. Very interesting. Listen, I love that. Let me see here. Also, it can be just your own. Okay. Roseanne, I love that feeling can be just your own nonsense. That's actually true. And so let's touch on that real quick. So if you are, we want to be really grounded in our own stuff. We want to have friends that can really call us on our own BS, right? We want to do the own work. That's why I always say I am a healthy skeptic. I want to really find myself grounded in my work. I don't want to feel so far right brain or so far woo woo that there's no logic, if that makes sense. And so we can very often, if there's no groundedness, yeah, Roseanne says amen to accountability. I love amen, by the way. Um, this intuitive work, we don't want it to go into um, a and we see those that use it sometimes as an excuse, and you typically feel that energy very quickly, right? Oop. We can usually see that play out, and so I think that when we're working on our stuff, that's to me why healing goes hand in hand with trying to discover our own gifts and abilities, because it just as important as it is tapping into that knowing. We want to tap into our, and you said it, Roseanne, into let me see exactly how you said it, our own nonsense. So I want to say our own BS, and we all have it, by the way. So when we surround ourselves with truth tellers, when we surround ourselves with people who we love and we trust so much in really high vibrational relationships, they help us continue to discover our authentic selves more, okay? And not step or stay into um, the facade, if that makes sense, okay? So thank you for that. I so appreciate. When I point in a session, my guides and angels are always saying, really, really listen to that. So Roseanne, I appreciate that. Thank you for that comment. We needed to touch on that. I don't think I would have gotten to that point had you not comment on it. Alexandria says, why does it fade as we get older, and how do we get it back? Good question. And what's really cool to me is this. I don't believe that and maybe that is your truth, my friend, so I don't want to take that from you. But I don't know that it necessarily fades. I think the wowment or the excitement of the aha moments start to dissipate. And so it makes me smile when I say it. Very often what people feel like is the beginning of their awakening, sometimes they don't realize they're already wanting to be at the like ownership of the gift, and they want to be doing this work and all of those things. What they don't always understand is they're kind of wishing the fun part away, if that makes sense. This doesn't always, I mean, it is fun, but there's a lot of responsibility in receiving. And there's a lot of responsibility in showing up. Okay, there's a lot of responsibility in that we have to practice what we preach. Okay, big exhale, big inhale, big exhale. And so I want you to understand that I don't believe that it necessarily fades. I feel like we have to make more of an effort to understand that just in its subtlety, it's still there. So finding new ways to appreciate it. There was somebody the other day, I love that we're running over on time. I love it. Who posted, a dear client of mine, she's a doula, and she posted something about watching her children. I know that in my work, I do this all day long, right? And so in my life, you'll notice on social media, I'm always with my family on the weekend, so I'm not always posting a lot, which I should. If you guys want to see that stuff, maybe I'll start to share more of it. But I'm at home really in that heart space, if that makes sense, in my connectedness. My receiving those signs and symbols are within the light in the picture, or the big old moth in the window right now. And so I want you to not be dazed because doesn't seem as magical as it used to be, my friend. So I want you to understand that even in the subtlety, there's just beautiful connection. Okay. Yeah. Let's see here. What's amazing is at the same time, abilities enhancing. You said exactly what I've been going through. It sucks, but I'm changing and I feel different like everybody else who's going through this. Yeah, it's interesting. Feel like a loved one from the other side is trying to connect with me. Can you assist? Do you feel like a message is meant for me to receive? Hi, Mrs. Webb. I'm not going to connect with loved ones on the other side tonight. I want you to feel them. This is a good development thing for you tonight. Okay, my friend? So sit with this after we're done. Guys, I want to give you like a little bit of a homework. So tonight we're talking about intuition. We're talking about connection. Why don't you, after we're done here, sit for 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you want, in a moment of connectivity with yourself, that space of light, connecting to nothing but the highest, the truest, or the best, creating that space, and asking yourself, what is the information that needs to come through for you? And have a piece of paper and just sit in that space, breathing it in, exhaling it out without any expectation of what that's supposed to look like. Do me a favor, after you do that, go tag me, I don't know, on Facebook or on Instagram, TikTok, somewhere, and let me know that you've done it. But then let me know what it is you receive, if you felt connected, if you didn't feel connected, but show me what comes through for you. And sometimes it's just a feeling. Sometimes it's just a color. Sometimes it's a shape. Sometimes it's an image. Trust your gut and see what comes through. Guys, I did that one day a week for many, many years. And I would never be doing this work today if it had not been for that one. I would tell you maybe it was 30 minutes, but I would sit in that space of connection and just see what in the world would happen. And I found my light, and I found me. And that's why we're here, guys, connecting tonight to intuition and to power. And when you do that and you allow yourself to step in that space, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful connection. If you're here, guys, I have a beautiful VIP group. If you're interested, it is, we meet twice a month for an hour and a half each time. And we connect, you will on Zoom together. So we all see each other. It's a beautiful group of people across the world. And it's a small, intimate group right now. It's $11.11 a month, but we connect to all things. So we talk about development, we talk about dreams, we process things together. It's a really, really cool space. And I really encourage you, if you're interested or you're looking for a community to help in your you-ness, to help in your development, go grab your everything, run over to CourtneyKaneSides.com and jump on that inner circle, that VIP inner circle, and sign up. The next one is tomorrow. I would love to see you all there and have you join in on the connection. Also, of course, there are always private sessions, and you can always book those also on the website, www.CourtneyKaneSides.com. And if you are following me, I so appreciate you. And if you're not, go follow me. There's always fun information, fun things shared, paintings, and all of that from the week. And lots of little tidbits. So guys, thank you so much for being here. I so love you all and so appreciate you. And I will see you again next week. But if you join the VIP group, I'll see you tomorrow night. All right. Love you guys. Bye-bye.